nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mr. Alt?
Here.
Mr. Beistel? Mr. Calero? Mrs. Love? Here. Mr. Miller? Mr. Polakowski? Here. Mrs. Rhodes? Here. Mrs. Shipley? Here. Mr. Benz?
Here. Let the record show that Mr. Calero and Mr. Miller called to let me know that they had other obligations. Citizens' comments?
I have no comment cards this evening.
Minutes?
At the next meeting, we'll ask you to approve the minutes of March 6th and March 13th, as well as the March 27th Finance meeting.
Questions? Seeing none, Finance?
We'll also ask you to approve the Treasurer's Report and bills payable. Those are not yet available due to the timeliness of the bank statements, and they will be available prior to next week's meeting for you.
Discussion, old business?
We'll ask you to adopt Policy 246, Student Wellness, which was posted back in February.
Any questions or comments on that? Hearing none, new business, 2014 potential graduates.
In your board packet, there was a list of potential graduates, 159 students. You'll be asked to vote to approve them for graduation.
Questions or comment? Hearing none, WIU general operating budget.
I sent a copy of the WIU general operating budget in your packet. Just a couple of highlights from that. If you remember last year's budget, there were 45 funds that were handled as part of the IU budget. Allison Willis, who's been the business manager there now for a year and a half to 2 years, has consolidated those funds from 45 to 11. So you'll see quite a bit less in terms of the number of funds that we have. On page 6, if you look, contribution from member schools is $440,595, which is an increase of $3 over last year. And if you look on page 7, you can see that Southmoreland's contribution is projected to be $14,968.18, and that is $60.48 less than we were asked to contribute to the operating budget last year. Other than that, most of what you see coming in this budget is in and out money. Page 9 is E-Academy Consortium. There is a $16,000 fee for each district to be a member of E-Academy, which helps to cover some of the overhead that's associated with E-Academy. And other than that, most of the IU budget is either administration or in and out kinds of money. Districts pay for such services as English as a second language and special education, so the money goes in, money goes out. And Mrs. Love, I don't know if you wanted to add anything from your discussion at the IU meeting or not. If I covered that pretty well. Or Mr. Marnell, either one.
A lot of the stuff we covered was in executive session.
I meant budget-wise.
Other than that they are proposing a balanced budget this year.
And they are doing some negotiations. I'm aware of that.
Yes.
Mr. Marnell, anything else that in your discussions at the business manager level? Questions on the IU budget? Pretty straightforward. Okay, good.
Hearing none,
We'll ask you to approve that then at the next meeting.
pre-K counts.
Well, we have an opportunity to partner with Private Industry Council of Fayette County to host a pre-K counts classroom for the next school term, and I have supplied you with some information on that. But pre-K counts is a state initiative that's been going on for quite some time. We've never really been involved with it here at Southmoreland, but it's funded by OCDEL, which is the Office of Child Development and Early Learning. Classrooms have a certified teacher Students learn the kinds of things that we hope they know when they come into kindergarten. Letter recognition, number recognition, emergent literacy skills, how to follow rules, how to sit quietly, how to take turns, all the things that make that transition into kindergarten a lot easier. We do have a pretty strong kindergarten transition program, and Mrs. Sawinski and Mrs. Smithul are very heavily involved in that. And we work closely with our Head Start groups, we work closely with our local preschools, and this is just one more opportunity to partner with an organization that will help us to have students entering our school ready to learn. So I spoke with Mr. Lee. Mr. Lee does have a room available, and in my preliminary talks with Shawanda Martin, who is the coordinator of the Westmoreland County or Fayette County Head Start, she indicated that they would be interested in leasing that room for $9,000 for a year. They will take advantage of our custodial services. They'll work with Mrs. Huggins and also will be eating. It's about a 5.5-hour program per day, and they will follow our schedule. So we would ask that you approve us to go ahead and partner with Fayette County to complete that application and get that program underway.
They would have their own transportation, they wouldn't be right.
Parents transport them.
Any other questions? Hearing none. Citizens' comments?
A couple more items, Mr. President. This just came in. The Highlander Chorus is requesting permission for an overnight field trip for the Highlander Choir. That would be from Friday, April 25th to Saturday, April 26, 2014. Students have done their own fundraising. There will be a Broadway classroom workshop. They'll actually meet some Broadway performers. They'll walk the city tour, stay in the New Yorker Hotel. So it sounds like a pretty good trip. And Mr. Krofcheck, is it my understanding that this is in lieu of a previously approved trip? Is that correct? Okay, and so the board had previously approved a Disney trip, so that trip will not occur, and this trip will be in lieu of that trip. So we'll ask you to approve that. Last week, or last meeting, Mr. Benz had asked us to take a look at policy 005 and align it with current practice. So I worked on that a little bit and have that ready for your consideration if you're interested in posting that at the next meeting. The changes are highlighted, they're on your desk, and the changes are in red. The first change actually is statutory. In years when members of the board are elected, the organization meeting must be held on the first Monday in December. So I actually put that into the draft policy. The second paragraph, order. Our original policy said the secretary of the board presides over the election of a temporary president at the reorganization meeting. I don't ever remember that happening here. So I just changed the language to reflect current practice. On page 2, the board shall annually elect a representative of the Southwest Regional Tax Bureau. We're not really involved with them anymore, so I struck that language. And then on page 4 of 5, I've just changed a little bit of wording. Actually, the wording was contradictory because the original wording said committees shall consist of no more than 4 members, and then the next line it said committees are the board of a whole. And we have 9 members on the board, so that made no sense. So I think the intent when this policy was written was that special and ad hoc committees would be no more than 4 members, so I clarified that. Indicated that a member may request or refuse appointment to a special committee since everyone is on the standing committees. And the president shall appoint a chair as soon as possible after the organization meeting for standing committees of the whole. And then we listed the standing committees of the whole. Mr. Bentz had suggested that we change the name of the athletic committee to the extracurricular committee, and that way that committee could be involved as needed in other extracurricular activities that are not necessarily athletic in nature. And we've had a safety and technology committees for a number of years, so we just added those into the policy. So that would be the changes there. So we could open that for discussion if there is any.
I had a question just to throw out. Somebody suggested to me, in addition to having a chair of each committee, to have a vice chair. That way, if we do need to have an important meeting and the chairman can't make it, to have someone, or if the chair calls a meeting at the last moment, isn't able to be there, then there is a backup person instead of having to cancel a meeting. Just wonder what the input of the board is, whether that's something that we should incorporate or doesn't really matter.
You know, just like we have vice president of the board, so.
I'm sorry, it's hard to...
I'm saying, you know, it seems like that would be a good idea because it's the committee's the committee of the whole board anyhow, and if the chair can't make it, just like when the president can't make it, the vice president steps in.
We don't want to pay to advertise a meeting, and next thing you know, people show up and the meeting's canceled because something happened. Does anyone else have anything else? Thank you. Does anyone else have anything else on the policy that they want to question or comment or bring? Thank you. Okay.
All right, so we will add vice chair as well.
Well,
Into that
get those
language.
assigned.
And so we will post that, or ask you to vote to post that at our next meeting. And the last item I really have tonight for public consumption has to do with Dr. Scott, and I'll call upon him to tell you a little bit about what he did today.
Tried my best to represent the Southmoreland School District. If no one's busy on Saturday at 10 a.m., was a guest on a WCNS 1480 out of Latrobe, talking about current issues in education. So, not that big of a deal, but something to wake up to Saturday morning. 10 a.m., 1480 WCNS. Retired, the host of the show, the weekly show, is retired County Commissioner Tom Ballard.
Generally, when Tim's out talking about something, he represents our district and what we do here very well. So, Tim, thanks for taking time. I know your schedule's busy, so thank you for taking time to do that. That is all I have for public consumption, folks.
Citizens' comments?
Yes.
I just have one question on the pre-K partnership that we're going to enter into. I assume that that organization would be the one with the insurance and so forth. We're just renting them the space. We have no tie, no responsibility, anything with that.
That is correct. It would be similar, with the exception of the fact that we're going to feed them. It would be very similar to the arrangement we have with the groups at Roughdale.
Okay.
Thank you for asking
I
that.
assumed that, but I just...
Yes.
Any other board members have anything? Need a motion to adjourn to executive session for personnel? Motion by Mrs. Rhodes, second. Second by Mr. Polakowski. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
This could be a well-represented